Good afternoon, or is it still morning? Oh, good morning. As Beth said, my name is Marlene Carson, and I am the founder of Rahab's Hideaway. I'm going to tell you because I don't know how many here have actually heard my story, so I'm going to tell you three things today. I'm going to share a little part of my story. I'm going to share what's happening in the area of human trafficking, and then I'm going to bring it home to Columbus, Ohio, okay? And so I was taken when I was 15 years old. I was put in prostitution, and kind of what that looked like was, how many here know all of your neighbors in your neighborhood? Not one hand. Y'all need to get out and start meeting your people in your neighborhood. Okay, well, in my neighborhood, we had a couple that moved into the neighborhood, and they made it their mission to meet every parent in the neighborhood. We now understand that they had a motive behind it, but they got to know the parents, they got to know all the kids. Their house became the hangout house, and so it wasn't, they did this for a year and a half, so it wasn't uncommon for them to, or us to ask our parents if we can go somewhere with these people, because they were neighbors. They were there for a year and a half. We know these people, so we thought. Well, after a year and a half, they asked us to ask our parents if we can go to New York with them. Now, we're 15 years old. Now, how many here remember when you were 15 and you would have been asked something like that? You know how you beg your parents and they say no the first time? I taught these kids earlier how to get something from their parents. Just keep asking. You know, that's how you do it. Just wait till they get on the telephone. That we get you really when you get on the telephone. And just keep asking. And eventually, just to get rid of us, parents tell us yes. So that's what we did. And when our parents finally told us yes, we were all excited. This always tells my age. We were actually going to go see Raquel Welch in Woman of the Year. That was a long time. They know that about Raquel Welch. I seen this big smile back there. Some people in this room are like, we don't know who Raquel Welch is at all. Well, we were going to see this Broadway show, and so we were all excited. I remember going up 70 East and just thinking how much fun we're going to have and how we're going to tell our friends who didn't get to go. We went to New York City. Well, it was absolutely nothing like we expected whatsoever. We get to New York, and we shopped that day, and that evening, instead of going to this show, we were given some clothes and told if we didn't put these clothes on, we'll never make it back home to see our parents again. So everything changed. Every dream and every goal and every desire I ever had literally left. Before that, I was a student. I was, of course, in junior high school. I was on the drill team. I was a cheerleader. I was doing all these activities. And now my whole life, I felt, was just taken away in one weekend. Well, several years later, I'm not going to tell y'all how many, but I remember in January 2008, it was cold and snowing outside, and I went on a missions trip with my pastors. Well, we had a layover in Florida, and instead of, you would have thought, when I got to Florida, I got off the plane, and I fell and I broke my ankle. Well, you would have thought I would have fell and broke my ankle in Columbus, Ohio, where it was cold and snowing. That kind of would have made more sense. But God does that kind of strange stuff where you don't understand what he's doing. But actually, that was the best fall I ever had because I had to come back to Columbus. I had to have surgery, and I ended up in a nursing home for 7 weeks. I was the youngest person in this nursing home for 7 weeks. But that's where Rahab's Hideaway was birthed out at. I was getting phone calls there at the nursing home of parents whose kids were being taken to go-go bars, and they were being exploited, and they didn't know what to do. And so all this stuff came about. And that's when I started hearing Rahab's Hideaway. Now, we started in 2008. We started with one home. We now have 5 homes, and 2 of those homes are used for drop-in centers. The drop-in centers are places where girls can come. They can take a bath. They can get a meal. They can get their laundry done. They can get resources. And should they want to transition out, because that transition is a process. Transformation is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And so that transformation process, should they want to come to a home, they can actually live in Rahab's Hideaway, live free there for up to 2 years. And so that's what Rahab's Hideaway is all about. And I really wanted to say thank you all for supporting Rahab's Hideaway, because we are not a funded program, but God has really blessed us through the Methodist churches to just empower us to really go and help these girls. So we really want you all to know that your giving has really given to a lot of lives. I didn't say this earlier, but I was looking at, we have a little baby in our program. Her mom, we have a couple kids, but one of them's mom, she has a little 9-month-old, and this little girl's life 6 months ago, she didn't even realize it was in such a dangerous place. And now she's 9 months old, and this little girl is thriving, and everybody's doing well. And it's really because of you guys' help that we're able to do what we do. So thank you for that. And now, bringing it a little closer to Columbus, everybody knows we're getting ready to get casinos, right? Yeah, I heard a grunt. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Most people, I don't know who actually voted for these casinos to come to Columbus, but when they did, it's this thought of they're going to bring jobs, it's going to bring income. Well, it's also going to bring the bad guys. And because of that, it's already on our radar. When I say our, I mean myself, Columbus Police, and FBI. We have identified pimps that are moving into the city already. They've been here since March of 2010, and they're here to recruit girls to work into these casinos. When I was being exploited, we were literally doing tours of places like the casinos. I've probably been at least 40 of them, because that's what pimps do. And so now we just opened up our whole community to something that I know that we are not ready for. So with that being said, it is imperative that you communicate with your children, that you communicate with your kids' friends, that you begin to just heighten your awareness on the issue of human trafficking, because it is very real. And when most of you all go to sleep, there's a whole world that's opened up that you probably know nothing about. Just last couple weeks ago, we were riding up down Broad Street. And so there were these teenage girls, and they were working. And there were 17 different girls out here. And so I was counting, trying to see which one did not have a pimp around them, or a bottom girl, somebody that was watching them. Well, I found this one girl that we thought no one was watching. She's just on West Broad Street. How many of y'all ride down West Broad Street? You probably see them out there quite a bit, actually. Well, this little girl, I brought up to her, and of course I knew what she was doing, but I asked her, I said, "What are you doing?" And she just dropped her head. And I said, "Can I come out and give you a hug?" And she said, "Please don't get out your car." So then she said that, of course, I got my hand on the doorknob, getting ready to get out the car. And I got out the car, and I hugged this little girl, and she literally collapsed in my arms. This little girl cried so hard, and really that one touch, probably she will never forget it, because somebody got out of their way and just to hold her like that. Well, seconds later, literally, her pimp came from an upstairs apartment where he was watching her and tried to break this whole thing up. And so I said that to say, we don't know the situations that these women have gotten themselves into, or that they have been forced into. I won't say gotten themselves into, but they forced themselves into. And so when you see these girls on the streets, take off our little judgment faces. Don't judge them where they're at, because you never know how they got there, first of all. The teenagers, we have a lot of compassion for them, because we understand they can't even consent to a sexual act. But now some of these adult women, there was one lady out there, she was 53 years old. And of course we say, 53, you know better, you should not be out here doing this. But when I talked to the lady, she actually had been out there for several years. And we asked, what happened? How'd you get out here? The lady showed me her ID from Riverside Hospital, where she was a nurse at Riverside Hospital. She used to be. Well, now, because of divorce and foreclosure of her home, she was prostituting herself to feed her kids. And then, because of the shame that goes along with selling yourself for something like this, now she's using drugs, so she's self-medicating. And we think, oh, you're just out here feeding your drug habit. No, it's so much more deeper than that. So turn on your eyes of compassion and open your hearts of compassion when you see these people on the streets. And I'm not saying go stop and hug them, but say a prayer for them. If you feel led to do it, do something. But, just don't leave them out there in the way that they are. Lastly, I do want to say that there is going to be a couple bills that are coming out in Senate for human trafficking. It took us 10 years to get a law against human trafficking, 10 years. So when Bush passed this bill in 2000, the Traffic Victims Protection Act, every state was supposed to adopt the law. We did not adopt it until 2010. That is hideous. Why would it take us 10 years to get a law to protect our children? Well, even though we have a law now, that law is not really being strictly enforced. There's not a lot of trainings that are being done. There's not a lot of awareness to the issue. So I am saying, when you see those laws, when you see those bills, please support them, because our kids are needing your help in that. Thank you.